Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about the Blue Yeti and basically, give you the most information you could possibly want in order to, decide whether or not the Blue Yeti is something for you. Because the Blue Yeti is very popular, if not the most popular microphone you can buy right now. And there's a reason for it, which you will probably see throughout this video. So basically, when it comes to the Blue Yeti, a lot of people are disappointed. Other people are really happy. Then there's some that call it overpriced. Other one calls it reasonably priced. And I'm here to basically just give you guys a very good idea of what this microphone can do, for who it is, and basically explain why the price is actually pretty much fine. If not, I mean, it's pretty much on point, if you ask me. So let's start with the very first thing. What do you get when you buy the microphone? Well, normally you just get the board stand and then the microphone itself. No pop filter, no shock mount, no boom arm, nothing. So that's all you're getting. Now, the table stand is fine, but not great. I wouldn't use it. This is why I'm not using it at all. I'm using this on on one of these boom arms, whatever the hell you want to call them. Um, so I mean, the it's fine for what it is. However, it doesn't really absorb a lot of shock, and given that the microphone is very sensitive, it really is kind of bad because when you type on your keyboard and the microphone is nearby, you will just hear like really loudly. So these are the kind of things that's just not great. Now, one of the things that a lot of people are complaining about is the fact the microphone is very, very sensitive. Even on the absolute lowest, and I mean the absolute fucking lowest uh, possible settings in terms of gain, like non-existent gain and 0% in microphone inside the windows, which I have it right now, and it still picks up noise in the background. It is very, 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 very sensitive. So this is something that a lot of people might want to look out for. If you generally have a noisy room, this microphone will cause a lot of headaches. Now there are things you can do about it to, reduce the noise. There's some certain software you can use out there that will, remove background noise. However, it depending on how much background noise you have, it will also affect the quality of your actual recording. The Blue Yeti also has multiple modes, which will basically tell the microphone how to behave. So it basically can decide, okay, look, it'll pick everything up, or it'll just pick the front, or it'll pick up from the front and the back, but not the sides, which is very good for podcasts. It has a lot of modes you can use in order to make it more flexible. This is one of the things that makes it so, expensive because it can offer you a lot of features that a lot of microphones don't. If you buy any cheap microphone, you don't have these modes, you don't have the mute button, you don't have the the headphone jack, which you can then hear live how the microphone sounds like, which is very important for calibration without delay and so on. So yeah, this is all this kind of thing that kind of things you would want to, all these kind of modes and features you would want possibly. I mean, I found myself to be able to use these modes actually was quite beneficial. I had a situation where I wanted to record a what's it called, a speaker. And in order to give an idea how the speaker would sound in a room, I would have to actually use the mode where it picks up everything, and it worked fucking fantastically. So this is something that I feel a lot of people should maybe think about. What do you need the microphone for? Do you want to record just, do you want to record your room? Do you want to record instruments? What exactly do you want to record? Now, when it comes to voice quality, you can now hear I talk the entire time with the micro without any type of processing. Now, this is just to give you an idea of how would the microphone sound if I don't do any processing whatsoever. If I just leave it like it is, you don't want to waste computing power on anything. Just want to, live stream, no computing power to processing whatsoever, and then boom, that this is what you can expect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call it live process. to give you an idea how it would sound when I would start streaming a game or similar. This is now live processed, and this is the most common thing people do. It's also the most common setting people are using in order to, uh, enhance their voice further. And it sounds fine, but it still doesn't give you this wow effect. And that's something that I personally struggled with a lot, where people were just, I mean, it sounded fine, but nobody was impressed. And it's like, yeah, it's a good microphone, but nobody was like, okay, yeah, this is just amazing. And I'm the type of guy who always tries to get the most of it, and I just really couldn't get it to sound like I would want it to, because I wanted the typical podcast voice that you would hear when you listen to the radio or something like that. This very warm and nice voice, and I can't really get it to do that because of the way the microphone is putting out my voice in itself as it is already. Like it's very 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 detail oriented. It gets a lot of noise also in the background, and it's very 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 difficult. It's nearly impossible doing it live. So at least it's impossible doing it without losing a lot of detail, to the point where your voice would just sound extremely muffled, and that's not what you want. When you have a podcast mic, you usually want your voice to still have a lot of detail, but you want it to be warm as well. And with this microphone, I can only do it when it's muffled, and there's just no other way of doing it, because it's so very focused on the exact opposite what a podcast mic is focusing on, and that is the high details everywhere in the thing. Now I'm going to do another example on how this microphone would sound, and that is another, edit, where I will basically after edit this with Audacity to enhance it even further. And this is to give you an idea what you can do if you exclusively use the microphone for, content like YouTube, where you don't have to stream live, where you don't have to, worry about, is like, if I use a background noise remover, is it going to, ruin the voice or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that, because Audacity actually figures out how this works, and it will only remove the background noise and not touch your actual voice. One of the great features of Audacity. So after edit, this is going to be all after edit, obviously, when I'm talking right now, so yay here. Now another thing that I feel should be talked about is this microphone really works for certain voice types. Now, my voice is not very deep, but also not very light. I'm a little bit in a, weird spectrum here, because I guess I would have a great voice for the 70s or 60s, where microphones just didn't have the range, and I'm sort of in that range. But the problem with that is because microphones usually either focus on the lows or the highs, which, I mean, this one, for instance, focuses very much on the high details, right? This means this microphone works extremely well with female streamers. There's specifically a German streamer that I watch a little bit. She's playing Valorant, and every time she talks in a Blue Yeti, it just sounds absolutely stunning. And that's because her voice is just being complemented by the microphone so extremely much. However, it doesn't really happen with my voice. It doesn't really work as I would want it to. Now, if you have a really deep voice, this microphone also works really well, actually. So once you're a person like me that doesn't have a deep voice, but also doesn't have a very light voice, then this microphone is going to not sound that great. It's going to be unimpressive, I'm afraid to say. So this is something you might want to, consider. Ask yourself, okay, how where's my voice in terms of, the audio spectrum? Is it low? Is it light? Is it the middle thing? And then once you're in the middle, right, this microphone is probably going to disappoint you a lot, I'm afraid to say. Now, here is the example of, the German streamer just using the microphone, and she sounds fucking amazing.
Hey, lang ist es her und ich habe vor ein paar Tagen wieder angefangen, Videos zusammenzuschneiden. Ich bin ja normal schon fast jeden Tag am Stream auf meinem Twitch-Kanal, wo ihr natürlich herzlich eingeladen seid, reinzuschauen. Und deswegen war auch sehr wenig Motivation da, noch Videos zu schneiden, weil das sehr viel Zeit auffrisst und ich brauche sehr lange dafür. Aber das will ich ändern. Im folgenden Video werdet ihr mich das erste Mal nach Monaten wieder Among Us spielen sehen, mit extra Rows, die ich in meinem Leben noch nie gesehen habe oder gespielt habe. Es ist eine sehr, sehr lustige Runde. Genießt es und lasst gerne ein Like und Kommentar für den Algorithmus da. Und ja, viel Spaß!
All right, so that's how she sounded. Amazing, right? So this is going to be, as you may have noticed, the after edit processing. This is when you basically take the last step and just say, okay, look, I'm going to get the most out of it. I will do only YouTube videos. This is what you can do. And I'm using Audacity for that. So there you go. Now, as you can hear on the microphone, it's very, very focused on details, and it really works well when you have a very, very, bright voice. So this is probably the most important part when, trying to go for either Blue Yeti or a Snowball is you kind of need the voice for it. Otherwise, it really doesn't work that well. It just does its thing, and you'll sound fine. I mean, when I use a Blue Yeti, you will absolutely sound fine, but you won't ever sound great. People won't be like, wow, this is amazing. People won't be like, oh wow, this is what I want to listen to. They'll just be like, oh yeah, that's a good microphone. They're never going to give you this wow effect. That's something that I really struggled with a lot when it comes to the Blue Yeti. I wanted to make it sound just absolutely like boom. I wanted so people can have the maximum enjoyment when watching a commentary video. And I do realize it's kind of a little bit dumb because I could have used my other microphone, which I'm like my cheap China one, which I'm gonna showcase, which basically is my replacement for the Blue Yeti. But I decided against it. I decided to one last time use the Blue Yeti, not only because it has served me, I don't say it has served me well, but also just to give you an idea, okay, how does it sound by comparison? Because now you're just used to the voice you're listening to, and then when it suddenly changes, you're like, you get more of the, more of the differences, because you already got used to it. And I feel that this is important for comparison, that you have a certain time you get used to something before switching, not when people just switch like every 5 seconds. You can hear a difference obviously, but it's like you can't really listen to the finer details and the more, the finer things and the differences and all these kind of things. So I'm going to use my other microphone that I bought, and yeah, so you have the final example of what I've replaced the Blue Yeti with and why, and I'm gonna put some conclusions onto it as well. Alright, so this is the last part with my cheap China microphone, and when I say cheap China microphone, I really mean cheap and China, because this thing has no brand. It was 30 euros, which is I think around 35 US dollars, and I get the microphone, a shock mount, a pop filter, some filter which I can put on top of the microphone, and the stand, the arm, the boom arm, whatever you want to call it. This entire thing, for that money, you can already imagine that's not particularly high premium quality. However, it still does this job better than, the Blue Yeti, at least in my case, because I do one specific thing. You have no idea how many times I actually have to start arguing with people in Valorant, explaining to them, no, I'm not trolling. This is a cheap fucking China microphone. It's very cheap. It costs me almost nothing. And I'm not a fucking streamer. I have to keep telling them that because they don't want to believe me. So yeah, that's a new side effect that I'm currently experiencing, which is hilarious in a way, but also starting to get kind of annoying. Yay. And they will also scream, oh, hello, Twitch chat. When people just see streamers, they kind of want to act differently and treat you differently, which is just, I don't know why. They're just doing it. They're weird. Whatever. Slightly off topic, though. So, yes, when it comes to, this microphone, obviously, a lot of people will just agree that this just sounds flat out better for this specific use case. And that is the important point. For this specific use case, the microphone will only sound better because I'm doing a commentary, or maybe if I stream a game or something. And if I do anything else, the Blue Yeti will just win, because this microphone has just been designed to do this very one thing.
commentary podcast or, streaming games. The Blue Yeti can do a lot more. If I were to sing something, this microphone would be terrible because it couldn't pick up all the detail in my voice. If I wanted to record a speaker in my room, this would not capture the feeling of the speaker in the room because it cannot pick up the details. Once again, if I wanted to do, let's say, an interview, I would have to, cuddle with the interviewee and be like, okay, come, we have to get to the microphone. Again, the Blue Yeti can all do that. See, that's the thing, that's the power of the Blue Yeti. It's a jack of all trades. It's not great at everything. It's just good at everything. It's fine. It does its job. It will do everything good, but not great. And that's the thing about the Blue Yeti that a lot of people don't really understand. It's meant to be a very flexible microphone, which can then get you into, let's say, commentary music or whatever. It helps you to get into stuff. It gives you the creative, freedom to do stuff. While this microphone here already, wants that what you want to do. This microphone is like, okay, look, you want to do podcasts or streaming or commentary, so you can use this for exactly that, but don't use it for anything else. I've seen people do the mistake in using a similar microphone to this and just try to sing in it, and you can really hear that a lot of things are just missing. It sounds, you can tell it's off immediately by saying, okay, look, something is off. It doesn't really sound the way it should sound. So that's one of the things that I definitely want to mention. Now, one last thing, and that is YouTube compression. Now, I do not know how this part of the video is going to sound on YouTube. Now, I know in terms of in-game and Valorant and, on Discord and whatnot, people always say, wow, this is an amazing microphone. However, I do not know what YouTube is going to do with compression. So this, I'm very excited because this is the first time I'm uploading this particular microphone on YouTube yet. So I hope they won't fuck it up. I hope they will keep the nice, clean, warm tone in it and not just muddy it out. So I'm praying there for, decency. So yeah, I think that's it. That's everything you would possibly want to know about the Blue Yeti. I think you can now, based on everything, figure out whether or not the Blue Yeti is going to be for you. To make a too long didn't read, if your room is noisy, don't get the Blue Yeti. If you don't need the versatility and like everything else about the Blue Yeti, like the voice profile and stuff like that, get a Snowball. If your voice is not very deep, but also not very bright, the Blue Yeti and the Snowball by extension will probably disappoint you. Look for something else, like maybe cheap China shit like this. However, what you want to do is you want to find a person or a viewer that has a somewhat similar voice to you. Not like he sounds like you, but just has the same, frequency where the voice is kind of moving in. And then from there, get an impression on whether or not the microphone will give you the exact result you're looking for. So that's very important. You go out and look for when you look for a microphone. Don't just be like, oh, this sounds good on this girl streamer, so I better buy this microphone because I'm gonna sound as awesome, right? No, that's not how it works. As you already saw with the example, when I talked on a Blue Yeti, it sounded fine, but not great. But when the female streamer used it, she sounded amazing with it. It's really depending on your voice, and this is not some processing thing. It's just because her voice just suits the microphone a lot better. So yes, I hope this should clear anything up. Any doubts should be gone, and I think, or rather I hope I could help you in your decision whether or not to buy the Blue Yeti, and obviously if and also give you a small advice when it comes to actually looking for the microphone. I cannot recommend this because I don't know what this is. I would, if people now gonna ask me, oh wow, this microphone sounds great, where could I buy? I do not know because I got it from the used market. I know that the new price, because I got the bill for it, is 30 euros. That's all I do know. And this has absolutely no brand on it. So I do not know what this is. I do not know what this is. I can only guess at this point. So there you go. I'm sorry, I guess. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, until the next.